All right. Welcome one, welcome all. We have a live stream here for you today. So hopefully you have a fun time. I know we will. And yeah, looks like we already have one other in our poll here. What kind of bird are you?
Are you asking me?
I don't know. What kind of bird are you, Amber?
Um, I would hope I would be a corvid.
Amber's going to be a corvid, so basically a night owl.
No, a lot of corvids are day birds.
They are day birds. What about night birds?
I don't know, crows, they come out in the daytime, and ravens and blue jays. I assume probably magpies too.
Amber is a raving raven.
Sure, I can be that.
All right. She's going to go to a rave.
No. I thought you just meant like I was, saying lots of things, and I was like, okay.
No, I'm raving. I'm stock raving mad. So, yeah. So, welcome to our July live stream, folks. I hope you're having a great July so far. It's nice to finally wrap this month up. It's been a long and hectic month for Amber and me both. Amber had some big things happen this month.
Yes, I mean, my book came out at the end of last month, but I had my book launch, my in-person one this month. I got to sign books for a local indie bookstore, the Briar Patch. And we went to the International Cryptozoology Museum for the grand opening. We went to a friend's wedding reception. It's been a very busy time, and I've been writing books, editing books, all kinds of jazz.
Yes. So, a lot of fun things happened, and so hopefully you had a fun July as well. So, let's get started on the stories here then. All right. So, our first letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Inviting My Girlfriend's Friends to an Arcade Night and Not Her? I am a 35-year-old male, and my girlfriend, a 34-year-old female, have been together for about 2 years now. We each like to hang out with each other's friends, meaning that she will hang out with my friends, and even if I'm not there, and vice versa. Well, a few weeks ago, we decided to make a summer bucket list with all the things that we wanted to do this summer. On that list, I added that I would like to do an arcade night. She didn't seem super interested at first. She has a horrible poker face, and said to put it towards the bottom since there were more exciting things to do. I completely agreed with her. As we traveled internationally, we went to a World Cup game, we taught our dogs how to swim, and did an overnight kayaking trip with them, etc. Well, something that was on the list, more for her, was to get better at playing her piano. She has been taking lessons this past year and has improved a lot from when she first was doing it, or when we were first dating, rather. Her teacher recently asked her to help with a recital that was coming up for beginners, setting up chairs, making sure that people keep their phones out of sight, keeping the schedule, etc. To which my girlfriend agreed. She would need to get there an hour beforehand and stay an hour later, about 4 or 5 hours in total. The venue is pretty small, so the audience and tickets were limited. Instead of taking a chair from someone there to see someone performing, we both agreed that it would be better for me not to go to the recital. I decided to go to the arcade night. I asked my friends, to which they were all busy, and then I asked my girlfriend's friends, and a few of them said yes. When my girlfriend found out about this, she got mad. She said that I was being mean and inconsiderate, as it was something on our to-do list. I told her that we could always do it another time, as there are a few arcades in our area, and that she didn't really seem interested in the idea to begin with. That there were still more exciting things on our to-do list before we got to the more boring stuff. She didn't see it that way, though, and I'm questioning if I'm the jerk. All right, folks, what do you think?
Yeah, this seems like a little bit of an odd move. Like, it's nice that she's helping set up for a recital, but that's not fun and games. Like, it sounds like she is doing work on that night. I hope he's like, yeah, that night my girlfriend is working. I'm going to go hang out with her friends and have fun. It does seem a bit inconsiderate, especially since it was on a list of things that you two were going to do together. You could have at least consulted her first and been like, hey, is it okay if I go to the arcade this night?
Yeah. I mean, I don't really view either in the wrong so much. I understand where she's coming from because they put it on their list. I understand where OP's coming from because this is not like a thing that can't be repeated or done again, right? This wasn't like a once in a lifetime arcade experience. Where I think I agree with you is that this should have been something that he consulted her ahead of time and said, "Hey, would it be all right if I went to the arcade while you were at this piano recital?" And I agree with you. Maybe she's feeling like, "Oh, I have to do all this work here, while my boyfriend hangs out with my friends, and then I have to do this recital and junk like that." So I understand where she's coming from, but I also think that OP, maybe they should have been a little bit more in tune with how she would feel about this kind of thing.
It just seems a little like I understand that they're kind of friends with each other's friends, but it does seem weird to me that, again, he would just ask out her friends to hang out without even mentioning anything to her until after the fact.
Yeah. But let me know what you folks think. So our next letter is titled, Speaking of asking ahead of time, I don't know, this doesn't work at all. Am I the jerk for taking my wife's choice of a new car away from her? So my wife's current car is running on and is coming apart at the seams. I maintain it for her because she doesn't know anything about cars. Her words. Well, the last year I have been desperately trying to keep it together for her. The most recent issue it had was that its engine was burning through 3 quarts of oil in a month. I have been setting money aside so that we could get her a new car when this one inevitably dies. This last week, I was approached with a deal that was just too good to pass up. For someone I really trust, and they offered to sell me their Honda CR-V 2018 with 45,000 miles on it for $10,000 to help me out. This car is basically a more reliable equivalent to my wife's current car, and same features, same size, same gas mileage. And okay, good. For a second there, I thought the live stream went out. At $10,000, we could reasonably pay that off in less than a year through financing. I took it to my mechanic, and I was told that it was in stellar shape. Even the primary issues had been resolved. But when I talked to my wife about it, about having a look at it, she called me a jerk for taking her choice of a new car away. But am I really? Really? This opportunity fell into my lap, and I just seized it. And her current car freaks me out, having her drive over 80 miles a day. Edit just to justify or clarify, we have not officially bought the car. No papers have been signed. No money has exchanged hands. A buddy of mine that I knew had been fretting about my wife's car, and they had a good opportunity to help me out, and was being generous, and gave me a call one morning, and I went out and looked at the car at lunch. They let me take it to my mechanic to verify how good the deal was. It was just so good that we talked some specifics on it. I told him that I couldn't make a call without my wife seeing it, but I was very interested. I told my wife about it when she got home from work that day. And to clarify, because it keeps coming up, the plan was to basically drive her car until the wheels on it fell off, and we got enough of a down payment to get her a decent car. New to us, she has not expressed much about what she wants in her next car and what she wants it to be. Well, she's offhandedly mentioned a few features that she wants, one of which is the size of this car. She wanted a slightly larger SUV, but she has not expressed any desire on price or whether it was new or used. She has a very we'll figure it out when we need to attitude about her car. She has also acknowledged that I'm right on paper, but is upset that she feels pressured. All right, folks, what do you think?
I mean, this one is a tough one. I am not necessarily going to say anyone is in the wrong here. Like, it is a really good deal.
Mm-hmm.
But OP really should have talked to the wife before taking it to the mechanic. Like, if I have to blame someone here, I do think it was a misstep for not including her from the beginning. when the car was first mentioned. If this is a vehicle that she would be primarily driving, it should have been something that as soon as he knew about, he asked her if she was interested in having a look at. So that way she could feel like she was part of the decision-making process and not just like, here, this is your new car, you're going to have it. Like,
yeah. Oh, sorry.
I was gonna say, like, I get this is a really good deal and it's a very hard to pass up deal. But the way it stands currently, it's like, oh, my husband and his buddy set this whole thing up and I am feeling left out and I'm the one who's going to be driving this car.
Yeah. Well, I get where she's coming from here. I feel bad about this because I don't think anyone's in the wrong, to be honest. I think that like OP said here, he hasn't bought the car, no money has exchanged hands. He took a look at it, and she doesn't know anything about cars anyways, and is always like, "Oh, you take care of the car stuff." So I can understand how that would translate to him being like, "Oh, take care of the car stuff, and we'll figure out what to do about the new car in the future," right? So, I mean, I think that this is mostly just a miscommunication, but I understand why she's hurt too, because she doesn't feel included in this process. And maybe it's time to try to bring her into the loop and try to help her, feel more included in this. And I mean, it sounds like she had her hopes up for maybe something different. And maybe we can say, they can sit down and kind of talk about what she wants and if there's some way that they can, achieve that goal.
Yeah, or a long-term plan, like, okay, if we get this car now, then a few years down the line, we could look into trading it in to get something else. What would you want then? What kind of set a plan in motion so it's not you have to take this car forever and ever and ever.
Yeah, exactly. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, speaking of, I don't know, making decisions. Our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Banning Men from Our Book Club? I know this sounds wrong, but please hear me out. I am a member of a book club, and we often meet together, and we read whatever we want. We take a picture or so later, and then we post it to the book club's Instagram page. It's supposed to get readers to join and make friends that way. Lately, though, as the page has started getting a few followers, and our events seem to be getting a bunch of men every week that often just try to start conversations with the women present. Of course, not all of them are creepy, but we have a weirdo every alternate week or so. Me and some of the other older members also noticed because of this, the amount of new women showing up has reduced as well. Earlier, we would get a new woman or two every week, but now it's not that certain. Some of the other compromises suggested that people were making were to have people apply on a website that we build, but I convinced others that it's a lot of work to maintain and approve applications. So I talked to the existing men present, about 12 to 13 of them, if they were cool with segregating, and most agreed. So we made 2 smaller clubs inside the main one, and now men are banned from the women's section, but women may interact with men in their section since most men didn't mind. One particular guy, though, told me that I was being very stuck up and inconsiderate since it's normal for people to seek out friendships and that they may be across sexes. I mean, I don't know, that's probably true, but I don't think going back to the status quo is the right idea. So am I the jerk here? All right, folks, what do you think?
I mean, this one is a tricky situation. There's nothing inherently wrong with having a book club for women and a book club for men. It's not my ideal. I really think that, having book clubs, across genders is like a great thing. But it's been done before, and like if it's a line that's adhered to, then like it's complicated though, because like not everyone fits neatly into a gender binary either.
Yeah.
And so that becomes thorny, but assuming everyone here is, identifies as either a woman or a man, they're not stopping people from having a book club. But I think there are better ways to handle the situation. Like if there are specific people who are being creepy, then talk to those specific people who are being a problem, or have a policy about that, like you have to stick to book
Mm-hmm.
talk, for the duration of the
Yeah,
event,
yeah.
or maybe organizing it in a way so that people are like seated. There's less like getting up and mingling. I mean, I understand mingling is part of the fun and sometimes, but like there are ways you could manage an event where you can kind of like make it so uninteresting for the creeps, like so that they just stop showing up.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the best ways to control behavior, of course, is make it so that the frictionless path is the one that everyone is going to take. And so if you have a book club, maybe it's one of these things where you sit everyone in a circle, and maybe even if you start having people have issues, you do assign seats
Yeah.
where, people who are being like unsavory might get a seat in a special place, right? And then that way, other new people that are coming in aren't going to be causing issues and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I mean, you
Oh,
could. Oh, sorry.
no, go ahead.
I was gonna say you could still have mingling, but save it for the end instead of the beginning, because like, if that's where there's a lot of mingling and things happening at the beginning, and that's where the guys are trying to hit up the women. If they have to sit through the whole entire book club
Mm-hmm.
and actively talk about books, I mean, you could just keep repeatedly asking them for their opinions on the books if they're not reading them and they're just there to hit on people.
Yeah, I mean, you can make it a requirement. Hey, you must have read the book before being in the book club. Questions are going to be asked. People are going to talk about the book, so on and so forth. So if you come in there and you are like a deer in the headlights, they're going to be like, look, the policy is that you've read the book. Have you read the book? And if you don't have anything to contribute to the conversation, then maybe it's time for you to go, right? And so I do agree, like making sure that that is a controlled environment where people can actually, do the activity as it's designed, I think goes a long way and makes it more structured. And maybe it's going to make a few people turned off towards the experience, but if you structure it and you keep people, engaged in the activity, then I think you're going to have a really hard time. The creepy people are going to have a hard time, engaging outside of that, right?
Ooh, or a great idea is the other guys in the book club, if they're not creeps, they could take the role of engaging with the creepy men. So, like, when the guys get creepy, they can step in and start a conversation with them or redirect it, like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
what did you think about this part of the book or something.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
the other, if they wanted to keep doing a co ed thing, and it seems like it didn't really matter to people, they could just have people step up and be like, hey, maybe don't be a creep anymore.
Yeah. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for making my kid call the coach to tell him that she's quitting? Speaking of quitting, or speaking of activities, group activities, I don't know. And not a very good segue, and you're supposed to say the segue before you say the title. So I failed on all accounts. And I do apologize. I do have a loss engine here, so if it bothers you, I can't help it at the moment here. I'm just trying to keep my voice from being destroyed. My kid is a quitter. She wants to try a sport, realizes that she doesn't like it, and then she wants to quit. This happens with basically everything that she has tried: hobbies, commitments, and so on. It's been a frustrating habit that I can't get her to kick. Well, if I force her to keep doing an activity, then it's miserable time for every single person. She has a big stubborn streak and will try to make it everyone's problem. I have forced her to finish things before, and it's just not a fun time for anyone. Well, my daughter is 12 and she wanted to join cross country for the summer. Well, now that it's hot, she doesn't want to do it anymore. That's the reason that she gave, and wishes to quit the team. I told her no, and that it will get cooler, but she is adamant that she is done. Well, yesterday night for practice, it was not fun. She complained constantly and forgot her water, but luckily a friend had some extra. I told her that if she wants to quit, then she can call the coach's number and tell him herself. She hates talking on the phone, some anxiety with it, and refuses to call him herself. That has been the running deal, and she's upset. My kid is extra mad at me and is claiming that I am being a jerk and that I should just let her quit, and I can call the coach's number instead of making my kid do it. All right, folks, what do you think?
This one's a complicated one for me as someone who deathly hates phone calls. this sounds like a very frustrating situation for OP. And, it sounds like forcing her to stay on isn't a good situation. Letting her quit isn't a good situation. She needs to learn there needs to be some way for her to learn that, like, you can't just keep trying things and then instant quitting. So in some respects, I guess it depends on the severity of the anxiety here. Like, if this is something that's completely debilitating, then that would be an unreasonable ask. But if this is like she can call her friends, and she can make some phone call that just makes her a little nervous, like it might be a different situation. It might be a good incentive to keep her either doing the sport or working up the nerve to call the coach. So I'm kind of like, I think for me it depends on how severe, because you shouldn't force someone to do something that is really bad for their mental health. And there's a certain threshold where it could be a problem, but if it's just like a normal level of anxiety and discomfort, then, that's kind of life.
Yeah. I mean, I guess she could also text him. I mean, a lot of people have cell phones for texting and stuff like that.
I mean, that's a good point.
Or she can tell him in person and say, hey, I would like to quit now. I do think that OP has a right to be frustrated in this situation, because it can be a little bit frustrating to know how to deal with a kid that is, not committed to one thing or another, right? And I think that OP is trying to teach her grit, and grit is an important skill to have, right? People who kind of lack grit are going to have a harder time in life. They're going to give up more easily, and it is just a good skill to have that kind of resolve, that kind of resolution, to be able to say, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do it to completion, right?
Yeah.
Not everything is easy, and not everything is fun, but sometimes you just have to push your way through it. Now, as for a sport or something like that, this is pretty low stakes.
And it's not a team sport, so she's not like, even if she's whining, she's not necessarily ruining it for everyone else in the way that, like, if it was a sport where they need collaboration.
Well, you still get points for your team and stuff like that in cross country.
You do, but like, it's not as big a deal of like, basketball or something where you have to actively be passing to someone.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I understand her frustration. I mean, I know I was on cross country when I was a kid, and it can be hard, right? And I mean, when you are running and it's hot and it's whatnot, then I mean, it can be a frustrating thing. But I don't know. I think, like, if she is not interested in doing this, then you can't force her to do it. And I mean, I think, that's the problem here. And maybe this is a larger conversation that he should be trying to engage with her in therapy or something like that. Like, if she has a therapist, they can, potentially work with that therapist and try to get her to commit to things and try to get her to see through to the end of goals, or find an activity that she really is passionate about. That way she's willing to kind of stick it out. And sometimes people like to quit things because they don't feel like they're very good at them.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can get to the bottom of why she wants to quit, I know she says it's hot, right? But I mean, she, there may be other reasons why she wants to get out of this, right?
Yeah, or it's just like one of those things where it seems exciting in the moment until you actually have to do it. And like, that's, I think, a lot of people too, like, you'll see something that looks really cool, but then as soon as you have to do the work, it's like, oh, this is actually hard, and I don't want to do hard work.
Or she had a crush on a boy on the team, and she was like, oh, this is gonna be great, but then he kind of like let her down or something, or doesn't pay attention to her, and she's like, this is garbage, I don't really want to do this anymore, right? I mean, I think we've all been in a situation like that at some point in time or another, right? Maybe not cross country, but I mean, we've all, I think everyone has a crush every now and again, and is trying to do an activity because they think their crush likes it, and then they find out that, oh no, I'm miserable here, and my crush isn't paying attention to me anyway, so why am I doing this to myself, right?
We just found out why Brian did cross country in high school.
No, I did not do it because of a crush, mind you. I wanted to get fit, actually, and exercise, and so that's why I did cross country. So, not for crushes. I wanted to crush those times and do better. Is that the right mix?
Yeah, I did not do sports in high school. I did other activities like theater and library stuff and math team, but
Mm-hmm.
nothing athletic for me. My body is no.
So let me know what you folks think. Anyhow, let's get on to the next story then. Our next letter is titled, speaking of, crushes and stuff like that, am I the jerk for refusing to directly pay for damages from a minor car accident? And you see how I played that? Crush, yeah. Very different term. A couple days ago, I accidentally rear-ended a guy at a red light. I was at fault, and I don't dispute that. After the incident, we both pulled over. He was a rather young guy who kind of was cocky about it, and it was like, haha, it's your fault, and rather upset, but not hostile. I did the standard exchange phone numbers, and I took pictures, and I sent him my insurance info. Because it was so minor, the only real damage is the license plate got a little bit bent up, and possibly some new scratches on the bumper. He said that he'll talk to his mother because the car is registered to her. I questioned his insurance info too, but he did not provide it. Well, I went ahead and I set up an insurance claim. In the meantime, texts from him started demanding that I just pay in upfront for the license plate and paint job, that the license plate would only be about $20, and he said that a repaint would be about $100 to $150. And this would be better than going through my insurance because it's a bad look for me. The truth is that I have small accident forgiveness, and the damages quoted are so small it's not even my 6-month premium. This would also be my first claim in almost 10 years, so I'm not worried about the impact on my insurance. He then also threatened about taking me to court and saying that he just had a dash cam showing that I was at fault. I stated to him that I had filed a claim with my insurance and provided a claim number. The insurance agent stated that it was determined that I was at fault and thus wasn't eligible for compensation, as I don't have coverage for that. But I don't care because there was no noticeable damage to my vehicle. He then sent me a picture which also shows the low damage and demanding that I just pay for the license plate. This would be about $20 again, but I stated that I have my insurance for this and he and his mother can go through there. The response that I've gotten since then are like, it was totally your fault, just pay up and move on, because they don't want to work with insurance. And per the claim, I haven't submitted anything yet. He also hasn't provided me with any info on his insurance, even though I don't plan to claim anything as stated. So, in light of that, am I the jerk here? Even for such a small amount of damages, insurance still covers it, and that's what it's there for. I don't see why I would need to Venmo some money and have read never to do that in an accident because it's just a handshake deal that doesn't preclude any other party from taking any other actions. All right, folks, what do you think?
No, absolutely not the jerk. I mean, my guess is that the son is probably not on the insurance, and so if they admit he was driving, then they're going to get in trouble. And so you're wise not to pay it because, like, there's the other possibility is that they get the cash out of you and then they file an insurance claim and then there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
So that's why insurance exists in this case, is so you have that paperwork, the documentation that I did this and it has been covered.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's a lot of it right there. You know, OP should be going through the insurance. That's what insurance is for. If they, again, like they've already exchanged insurance information. If they hadn't, then maybe OP could go through cash and they would just be done because at that point in time, they would just, shake hands and walk away. But maybe not so good. Also, I think in general, even in minor accidents, in a lot of places, you're supposed to call the police just so that they can check things out. So I don't know, like, they probably should have involved the police in this and gotten a police report as well. I don't know.
Yeah, well, the son might not have known that. It's not something that everyone would know. But they also might have been avoiding it if he's not an authorized driver for the vehicle.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think, like, if you're not authorized, then why would you even at that point in time try to get anything out of OP?
Well, I think they just want the money. But I think their threat of going to court is an empty threat because you've given them your insurance information. That's all you have to do. Like, you're
Mm-hmm.
not refusing to give them your insurance information. You're refusing them to pay them outright, and they're not entitled to that.
Yeah, exactly. So it was a very strange situation. I wouldn't trust it if I were OP. I would definitely go through insurance and not deal with people like this. But let me know what you folks think. And folks, our next letter, speaking of getting involved, entangled in a mess, our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Not Getting My Friend a Wedding Gift When They Didn't Have a Wedding? One of my close longtime friends eloped with her long-term boyfriend. They didn't tell anyone that they were eloping, and roughly 3 months after eloping, they sent out "We eloped" cards with gift registries attached. I obviously sent a verbal text and well wishes, but I refused to buy a gift off the registry. After some time, she asked me if I got their card in the mail. I immediately could tell that she was alluding to the fact that I had not sent a gift. I replied yes. Oops, I lost my place. I replied yes. I received the card, and the photo was beautiful. Then she attempted to make me feel bad for not buying them a wedding gift. I told her that if they had had a wedding, that I would have bought a gift, but they didn't. They eloped in a park. She tried to guilt me by saying that I have money and that I'm the only one who didn't buy a gift. I reminded her that not only did they not have a wedding, they also were not living in a new home, not having any children, or anything else that warrants a gift purchase at that time. So am I the jerk for not buying a gift for someone who eloped and told me about it via card in the mail? Just to clarify, we are close, longtime friends who now live in different states. We see each other about 2 to 3 times a year and talk weekly. And all places they were registered were high dollar sites like Williams Sonoma and Crate and Barrel. We saw each other in person 3 weeks before she eloped, and she didn't mention it. She didn't mention it to me in the time that we spoke afterwards, and I found out when I received the card in the mail. They didn't tell anyone about getting married until the cards started to arrive. They wanted to surprise everyone at the same time. All right, folks, what do you think?
No, not the jerk. I mean, you give wedding gifts kind of as an exchange for, if not going to the wedding itself, then going to a reception or something. Like, because we went to a friend, the friend, they eloped, but then they had a wedding reception, so we still gave a gift because there was still a party for us to attend. But if two people like just elope, unless they're like, you're really close to them, I mean, I know if he says they're close friends, but like, I don't know, I feel like, the parents might still give gifts or something like that, but you can't expect everyone in your social circle to give you a gift if they're not invited to the wedding.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's general etiquette if you have a reception, even if you've eloped, that gifts are brought. But I think, like, again, gifts are optional type of things under no matter what the circumstances. So I think, again, like, OP doesn't feel like getting a gift. And part of that sounds more like they are resentful of the fact that this person eloped instead of told her because she feels like she's close to this individual and they kept the secret from them. At least that's kind of how I'm interpreting the tone of this letter here. So it feels like she's deeply offended that the friend didn't even tell her. And I think that some of that is bleeding out here in this, post here.
I mean, it could very well be. I think it's important to reflect on your feelings and why you're doing things. Like, if you don't feel like getting someone a gift because there was no wedding to attend or no reception to attend, that's a little different from, like, I mean, I don't think it's wrong too to feel hurt that you weren't invited, because like if you're not invited to a wedding that actually takes place, then like you're not going to get, you can be hurt and not get a gift. But I mean, I think you bring up a bigger point that like you're not obligated to give a gift no matter what the circumstances are, and that it's really tacky to be hounding people for gifts regardless.
Yeah. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. Speaking of getting gifts, ooh, this one actually works this time. Am I the jerk for buying myself flowers? My fiance, a 34-year-old male, and I, a 23-year-old female, have been together for 2.5 years. I've been wanting flowers and mentioning it for months because he's never gotten me any. When I had my bridal shower, June 14th, he finally bought me flowers for the first time and said that his mom told him to do it. Today is the 30th for reference. Well, today I went to the grocery store and the rose bouquet there was 10 Canadian dollar. Well, when I got groceries, I paid with his credit card because we live together and he pays for that kind of thing. So I bought the flowers and groceries with his credit card, and I sent him a picture of me with the bouquet saying thank you. He got furious. He said that I was making a joke at his expense, rubbing it in his face, and he was actually thinking about getting flowers today, but I stole that chance from him. Am I the jerk here? I'm sure he was thinking about it today. But what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you're in the wrong, OP. I mean, I think you were a little snarky there. To add the thank you, like it does feel a bit passive aggressive, but I don't think you're in the wrong for wanting flowers. And I don't know what financial arrangement you two have, but it does sound like you share funds to a degree. And it doesn't sound like he's upset that you spent joint funds. He's upset that you are making him look bad. And so I think he needs to reflect on himself and, you know, because like again, like that's what these people always say. It's always, oh, I was thinking about doing that, or I was going to do that, but there's never any action or actual, like it was never going to happen. He wasn't going to buy you flowers today. He wasn't going to buy you flowers next week. He wasn't going to buy you flowers a month from now. And so I would reflect on this relationship, and is this the only place where your needs are not being met? And is that something that you want to put up with indefinitely?
Yeah, well, they're engaged now, right? I mean, it's coming up to the line where they should be able to understand each other's wants and needs, and OP should consider whether he is actually able to meet those wants and needs.
Because this isn't going to get magically better with marriage.
So what I'm kind of thinking is, it depends on how OP meant it. Like OP could have been sincere and said, "Oh, thank you for buying me the flowers," and like eliminating the need for that, right? She's like, because sometimes you can buy something with somebody else's gift and then, you know, money, and then be like, thank you for the gift that you bought me, type of thing, like with gift cards, right?
Right.
Well, if you buy somebody something with a gift card, sometimes the response might be to show someone a picture of the thing that you bought with their gift card, and then say thank you for the gift, right?
Right, or like I'll see something I want for my birthday, like some books, and I'll be like, "You're buying me these for my birthday." I'll just like buy them and like be like, "Okay, these are my birthday gift. You're buying them for me." But you know, and some people have that kind of relationship, and some people don't.
And so my thought is, how did OP mean this, right? If this was a very sincere, they thought that this was going to be okay, and he was going to react fine, and just be happy that OP was happy, that's one thing. But if this is when it's clear that he interpreted this very differently, if that wasn't the case, right? So I think that OP and him really kind of need to have a sit down about expectations before they get married, because like you said, things aren't going to get magically better after marriage, right?
If anything, you know, it tends to be that they get worse because people feel like they are less need to put effort in because now this person is tied to me. And so is he putting effort in other places in your relationship, and how much do flowers mean to you?
Yeah. But speaking of getting tied to other people, terrible segue, and sounds like a questionable life things. Our next letter is titled, "Am I a jerk for correcting a spouse during storytelling?" I was trying to like do the tied to your spouse type of thing, but it came out completely wrong, and that still doesn't sound right. And, you know, I think like I'm in a hostage situation now.
That's where my mind went.
Need an unbiased take on whether I'm the jerk for correcting my spouse at times when she is telling a story. I'll elaborate. When telling stories, say at the dinner table with friends or whatever, my wife frequently messes up key words that dramatically change the story and could confuse people who genuinely would be too polite to say anything about it and just remain confused. So I'll sometimes jump in and correct that key point for clarity and turn it back to her to continue the story. For example, she tells a story about growing up in the Catholic Church and pushing back on the patriarchy. She refers to the Monsieur as the Monsieur, French for Mr., or recently there was a news story involving some people who did something in the U.S. that came from Tijuana, and she referred to them as coming from Taiwan. In both of those instances, I jumped in and I corrected her to help people listen and follow the story better. So am I the jerk for doing this, or should I just let it flow and hope that people can figure it out themselves? All right, folks, what do you think?
Yeah, I think the first example, like most people aren't, Opie's like, oh, this is confusing everyone. People
Yeah.
can speak up if they have questions, if they get confused. I think that is a little presumptuous to assume that everyone is getting so drastically confused by her mispronunciations and misidentifications. I mean, in the first story, I know nothing about Catholic Church, basically, very little. So, like, I would not have been more confused one way or the other. Opie clarifying would have done nothing for me. It sounds in some ways like Opie is trying to sound smart and doing this under the guise of being helpful. Or he just could be really pedantic. And that's not outside the realm of possibility. But I do think, one, Opie should examine his motives. And two, are you really actually helping people? Or does it just feel good to be right?
Yeah, I mean, I think OP should examine their motives here, and that's really what it boils down to. Like, sometimes there are details that do need clarification, but it's clear, it sounds like she doesn't appreciate this, and this is probably why OP is asking about this. And I think it's really one of those things where OP needs to be considerate of their partner's needs and wants. Now, I will say that context clues are important, right? A lot of people, under the right context clues, will be able to decipher or decode what she is saying, right? Now, the Tijuana versus Taiwan one might be a little bit, excuse me, I keep burping here, might be a little bit of a hard one to kind of correct, but I guess the question is, does it really matter that much where they are coming from?
Right, and that I think is the key one for that one for me is like how much does the country of origin matter to the story?
Like if there are key details, then that probably will also hopefully provide enough context clues for people to understand.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think, like, again, is OP's motivations here to help her, or are they to sound smart, or are they to kind of demean and belittle her, or any number of things here, right? I think OP needs to sit down and talk to their partner and ask them how they want these kinds of slip-ups addressed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's going to be the way I think they can both figure out and understand each other and communicate with each other and try to reach a mutual place of understanding, right? So if he's just jumping in and she doesn't appreciate it, that's not going to do anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if OP sits down with her and says, "Hey, I really am sorry. I wasn't trying to, undermine you or undercut you. I was just trying to correct something that I thought was like a critical point of the story. Is there some way you would like me to address this in the future or help you out? Or is this something that you just don't want me to even address or anything like that, right?" And I think her response there will drive what OP should do in the future.
Mm-hmm.
But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. Speaking of rude people, I don't know, maybe that one works here. Am I the jerk for refusing to let my roommate's man practice his DJ set in our apartment at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday? So I'm a 23-year-old female, and I've lived with my roommate, Priya, a 24-year-old female, for almost 2 years. We've always split things pretty fairly, chores, quiet hours, guests, and all of it has worked out because we communicated. Genuinely one of the easiest living situations I've had. Well, about 4 months ago, she started dating a guy who is really into DJing as a hobby. He's a nice enough guy when I met him, but he's decided our apartment is his practice space because his own place has thin walls, and his neighbors complained. Well, at first, it was occasional. An hour on Saturday afternoon, headphones half the time. I didn't mind, but it escalated. Last week, he was here for 3 nights, and Tuesday, he had his full setup going, not headphones, actual speakers, until almost midnight, because according to him, he has a set this weekend, and he needs to feel the room. I work in an early shift, and I have to be up at 5:30 a.m. I knocked on Priya's door around 11:15 and asked if they could wrap it up or at least drop the volume since I had to work in 6 hours. He got visibly annoyed, made a comment about how creative work doesn't run on a schedule, and Priya didn't really back me up. Just kind of laughed it off and said that we'll wrap up soon. He didn't wrap up for another 40 minutes. Well, the next morning, I was exhausted and I snapped at Priya a little, telling her that her boyfriend can't keep using our shared space like it's his personal studio, especially not on a weeknight. And that going forward, he needs to be asked. He needs to ask before setting up, not just show up and assume that it's going to be fine. She is now saying that because I am being controlling, and that I am making her choose between him and me over just a little bit of noise. Her boyfriend apparently thinks that I'm uptight and clearly don't get artists. A mutual friend told me that I could have handled it more gently since he's just passionate. I don't think wanting quiet on a Tuesday night in my own home is unreasonable. But now I feel like an uptight roommate who can't support anyone's dreams. All right, folks, what do you think?
No, absolutely not the jerk. So he doesn't want you to disturb the people in his housing situation, but it's no problem disturbing you. Like, what he is saying here is that his living situation is what matters, and he doesn't care about any inconvenience or harm this causes you. This is your living environment. He is a guest. He is not owed space in your house.
Well, I think he got the police called on him before.
Oh, probably.
And that's why he's over here at OP's house. And I think like other people aren't understanding towards him blaring his volume full blast at midnight, and I'm surprised they haven't had the cops called on them now.
Well,
maybe they're living in like a little bit more remote area or something like that. But I know like if somebody was blaring stuff like that at midnight in this apartment complex, I would politely first ask them to stop this, but then I would make a noise complaint shortly afterwards, right? Like this is not normal noise. Like I could understand like if it was like a baby crying or something like that, where it's a hard situation to kind of deal with because like how you know babies cry and stuff like that, you can't really control that, right? But the fact that it's something that is very, very controllable, I don't think that OP has to tolerate this or put up with his noise, right? I think that OP has been very polite and more than accommodating, and he needs to figure this out. Plus, like, why does he need to feel the room, right? Because where he's going to be DJing in a club somewhere, the room feel is going to be very different from the room feel in this apartment. So I think that that's just kind of an excuse. If he wants to go and DJ, then maybe he needs to do it in that space there. So I don't know. But let me know what you folks think. All right. So I think we've got about 10 minutes left here or so. I'm going to read this story first, and then I'm going to do tea time, and then we'll read one final story, as long as everyone is fine with that.
Sounds good.
All right, folks, then our next letter is titled, Today I Messed Up by Thinking Asparagus Tops Were Poisonous. I said asparagus, but I've really meant asparagus, so forgive my mispronunciation of words. Hopefully you didn't get confused by that, and Amber didn't jump in to correct this, so I needed to correct the record on my own. When I was like 6, my family lived with my aunt and 2 cousins, and they were both significantly older than me. I remember one time during dinner we had asparagus, and one of my cousins told me that we don't eat the top parts of asparagus because they're poisonous. I was naive, and I thought I was a naive kid, and this cousin doesn't really prank me often, and was very nice to me, so I believed her, and ever since I've cut the tops off of asparagus. Until last night. Well, when I was having dinner with my family, which was pork chops, stuffing, and asparagus, well, as per usual, I cut the tops off my asparagus and ate them. A few minutes later, my dad asked me why I haven't eaten all my asparagus. And I tell him that I didn't eat the tops because they're poisonous, with some stupid amount of confidence. My entire family proceeds to laugh, thinking that I'm joking, since I usually do. Once they realized that I was being serious, they were confused on how I thought that. I explained to them how my cousins told me they were poisonous. I'm 19, and for the past 13 years, I thought asparagus heads were poisonous. All right, folks, what do you think?
I mean, OP, I have done like the same thing. I'm a very gullible person, so like I believed for the longest time that you would die if you swallowed toothpaste, because that's something my mom told me when I was a kid, and I was terrified of brushing my teeth. Like, if you are ever thinking of telling that to your kids because you're afraid they're going to eat the toothpaste, Do not do that. You're going to make the
Trauma.
yes, and you're gonna make them not want to brush their teeth, rightfully so, because they don't want to take the gamble. Like, who wants to take that kind of gamble? I'll rot my teeth if it means I survive.
Yeah, well, I think like in very, very, very high doses, toothpaste is poisonous, but not at the amount that you would get from a small amount, right? Like anything in high enough doses is poisonous.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that probably the cousins were just trying to convince OP to give up the best part of the asparagus, because the asparagus tops are the best part. Like, they're the most tasty part, in my opinion, here. So I'm wondering if they were kind of looking out for their own best interests here, and were like, yeah, I'm totally OP. The asparagus is really, really poisonous. You don't want to eat it. So, yeah, I think that they were just trying to steal OP's asparagus. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, it's tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here, and Amber, she has a joke.
Let's see, where did we leave off?
On a joke. Probably it was a bad joke.
Why are giraffes slow to apologize?
Probably because they've got really long necks, and so it's really hard for them to communicate with other giraffes other than by yelling really long distances. I don't know.
It takes them an extra long time to swallow their pride.
Oh, that wasn't a good joke. Actually, that was probably one of the better jokes that they've had. And I have some matcha. And folks, we'll get into the final story here. So let's go ahead and jump back to this. And I think this one is a nice one to end on. So yeah, we'll do that. Our next letter is titled, Today I Messed Up by Tipping My Pizza Driver $125 in cash. This occurred after an unbelievably long shift. Thus, I will be citing exhaustion, poor management of my wallet, and brain functioning from the pizza fumes. I had ordered a pizza since there was no way that I could manage cooking then. The total cost was approximately $25, and I decided to pay in cash. Excuse me. When the driver came, I took what I perceived to be 320 bills, and I gave them to him saying, keep the change. Well, I think the guy looked at me like I had just offered him a lottery ticket. I felt proud of myself at the time, thinking, wow, this driver sure knows how to appreciate. To tell you the truth, at one point, I even felt good about it, since I was the customer that he would always remember this evening. Well, after a while, I went to check my wallet, and I did not give him three $20 bills. I had given him three $50 bills. Instead of giving him a tip of around $35, I essentially gave him a tip of $125 on the $25 pizza. For a split second, I thought about contacting the restaurant and letting them know about my mistake. Then I realized that would happen after I got called by them and was told, you remember that nice guy that you got a tip? Well, we'll be needing most of that back. At the time, I just figured out that I'm going to have to live with that. The mistake was my own, and he did nothing wrong. And perhaps the universe needed him to be lucky rather than me having the money. The pizza was delicious, not the $150, not $150 delicious though, but it was definitely delicious. All right, folks, what do you think about that?
I mean, I think that I'm glad that OP didn't take the money back, and it just ends up being you did something really good for someone else, OP.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes these things are kind of mess ups, and I mean, like, a $35 tip would have been generous anyways.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's like twice the cost of the pizza at that point in time. That's like 15% or something like that. So I think OP's tip was extremely generous, and I feel bad that they are out, $150. I would say if that $150 was between paying the rent and not paying the rent or something else, then maybe, contacting them isn't outside of the realm of possibilities. Sometimes people do make mistakes. And, like, the guy getting $150, I would imagine they were probably a bit skeptical anyways. Like, why would you give me this much of a tip? But sometimes you need a little bit of luck too, right? So I don't blame OP here. I think OP is a good person, and I think they were just in the end trying to do the nice thing, and I respect that a lot. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, we are in the outro. I'm gonna end the poll here, and apparently, what kind of bird are you? Apparently 50% of you are perpetually exhausted pigeons, and the other 50% are other types of birds. There are no night owls or early birds here, so except for me, I would probably be the night owl. And maybe the early bird? I guess it depends on whether I'm the worm or the bird. Some days, both, simultaneously. But thanks so much for watching, folks. I hope you had enjoyed this live stream. I hope you are going to have a great month of August here. I have not updated my July live stream thing here, so let's find out when our next live stream will be. And apparently, it will be the 28th of August here. So Friday, August 28th. So thank you everyone for joining us tonight. I hope you had a really good time. Let's fix this one. UGUST 28. There. And yeah, thanks so much for watching, folks. I had a lot of fun. I hope you did too. And yeah, we'll catch you all in the future here, hopefully for the August live stream. And again, don't forget this weekend we are actually not going to be recording. Again, I don't know why I've been having such a hard time with my voice. I think it's just that I'm in a lot of meetings now. I have to talk a lot. And I, kind of gotten to the point where I strained my voice and I just need a little extra time here and there to recover it. So I hope you all have a great day and a great weekend, and we'll see you all in the future here. So thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all later.
Bye.
All right.